The following interview you're about to see has been pre-recorded, slightly edited, and trimmed. If anybody watching this video when it's premiering live, like our usual video blogs, we, along with our guest, won't be able to answer your questions in the live chat, but we can assure you that the video you're about to watch will be very exciting, filled with fun behind-the-scenes stories, a few jokes, and guaranteed to take you into the exciting world of animation. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hey there, folks! Welcome back to the Cartoon Show!
Hello.
Yep, and since we already told you that we're doing a Clarence-themed celebration out throughout the entire month, we did announce that we're going to be doing an interview with Spencer Rothbell, the former head of story and the current voice of Clarence. Well, you waited about 30 days for this video to come out, and here it is.
Here he is.
Our special guest star, and the very first person we're going to interview on the show, Spencer
Rothbell.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We actually wanted to do this video with you because Jared is a huge fan of the show. He's been watching it ever since it came out, even watching it with his grandma. May she rest in peace.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do something special for the 10th anniversary, since Cartoon Network's probably not going to do anything. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe they will. I don't know. We'll see.
Who knows?
All right, so we wrote out 10 questions since Clarence has been around for 10 years. So I'm going to start. Before we get into the Clarence stuff, we were wondering what basically inspired you to get into animation. Like, what was the spark that spoke to you and said, hey, I should get into cartoons?
Yeah, that's a good question. I always really loved to draw as a kid, and I loved to draw comics, and I was, like, obsessed with animation. When I was really young, I used to watch, like, we would go to the video store and rent these, like, compilations of different cartoons, and, like, some of them were from festivals. Sometimes it was old, like, Fleischer cartoons, like Betty Boop. Sometimes it would be, like, Bugs Bunny stuff.
Okay.
So I'd watch the cartoons. So I've always really loved them. And then when I got a little older, I was really into The Simpsons. I was, like, a Simpsons fanatic, and I would collect Simpsons toys and try to watch every episode when it came out. So yeah, it's always been a big part of my life, comics and animation. And so when it got time to graduate high school, I was looking at different colleges, and I really wanted to try to get into school to learn about animation. So I ended up going to CalArts, which is big animation school. I was in the experimental animation program, which is a little smaller than the character programs, a little bigger there.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a mix between animation and experimental film, and it was a little more self-directed. But yeah, so that's kind of my journey, my animation journey. But I've always been a big fan of animation and everything cartoon animation related. So it's kind of just been a natural progression for me, I guess.
Yeah, and since you were at Cartoon Network for, like, how many years?
I don't know. That's a good question, because I started on Clarence, I think, in 2013, and then that show went until, like, 2017, 18? I don't remember. And then I was on 12 Forever, which was for Netflix at Puny, so that was separate. And then I came back to Cartoon Network for Victor and Valentino.
Jared's personal favorite.
Awesome. And so it was a lot of years, like cumulatively, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
All together. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what the total is, but I've worked in animation now over a decade, which is crazy. So, Clarence 10 years is basically my 10 years too.
Wow. So the curious thing that I was wondering too is that obviously I'm not going to go into too much detail about this, but we obviously know that something serious happened during the show's production, and
Sure.
You ended up becoming the voice of Clarence afterwards. So I want to know, is there a story behind that? Like, did they pick you, or how did that became to be?
Yeah, so basically what happened was I've always liked to do voices, like even just with my friends, joking around and stuff. Like since I was a kid, I would do voices for projects and things like that. And I had a little bit of a background doing improv classes. Like I went to Second City classes when I was in Chicago, and UCB out here in LA. So I'm a big comedy fan as well. So all those kind of things sort of merged together with voice stuff. And on Clarence, I had been doing what they call scratch audio, which is like temporary audio for animatics. And if people don't know what an animatic is, it's basically like a storyboard, but it's timed out to audio sort of roughly before it gets animated. So sometimes I would fill in for various characters, including Clarence, before they got recorded, or maybe a line got changed or something like that. Then we had to replace that role. And so we ended up auditioning a lot of people. Like, I think we auditioned like something around like 100 different people for Clarence, and it's like anyone you can think of in animation probably auditioned for that character. It was really hard to find a good fit. And then at some point, someone was like, "Oh, you should audition." I felt a little weird about it because I knew the first person doing it, and so I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, they want me to do this," and he sort of said, "Well, I'd rather be you than someone who doesn't know the show." And so I was like, "Okay," so I auditioned. And I ended up getting it. So it was a really weird, like, fast track for me. That was my first show. I started as a writer. And then our head writer left the show, and I think he worked on a Scooby-Doo show. And so then I took over. I was promoted to head writer, and then this happened, and then I became. Sorry, there's a siren going by.
No, you're good.
Then this happened, and I became the lead role. So it was all on my first show. It was a really crazy, like, fast experience for me, for better or for worse. So yeah, it was definitely an unusual way to get into voice acting. Not in the sense that, like, I was working in animation and then I became a voice actor, because I do think that happens with, like, Nikki Yang was a storyboard artist, and then she became the voice of Nemo on Adventure Time, and she was also a director on Clarence and a board artist. So yeah, it does happen, but the specific circumstances for me taking over as Clarence were definitely unusual. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what were some of your favorite episodes to write before or after you got the role of the title character?
Yeah, well, the first episode I ever wrote was sort of like as a way to test out my writing skills, was Jeff's new toy. So that was the first thing I ever wrote, and it wasn't a real episode for a while after that, and we did a lot of revisions on it, but so that one has like a special place in my heart. But basically at that point, since the show was so new, the mandate from Cartoon Network was like, Clarence has to drive the plot, and he has to be more centered in the story. And since that was pretty much like a Jeff episode, I think they weren't quite ready to branch out into other characters yet. So then I wrote Slumber Party. So that was my first real episode. I think definitely aired before Jeff's new toy. So those two were big ones for me. I think I like Puddle Eyes a lot, just because it's so silly and weird, and it was like a very broad
stuff on the show.
Sorry, what was that?
Well, Clarence has done some pretty weird stuff on the show.
True. Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess that's par for the course.
A couple times.
Yeah. I mean, I like Balance a lot. I also do the voice for the character Balance, so that was fun to, after playing Clarence, which is such a sweet innocent character, to do a villain as well, which is, like almost like the evil Clarence.
Yeah.
Or sort of like Dawson and Clarence Balance.
On his hand, right?
Right, the fake hook hand that he takes off and it's very weird character. That's a fun one too, because I feel like it was the first time we sort of broke our own rules, where it's like the least grounded real life episode. It's just so weird and different from the rest of the show, and I think that was I really like kind of absurdist comedy and like really over the top kind of like Tim and Eric and Conan O'Brien and stuff. So like it was fun for me to get to do something really weird on that show. But anyway, those are some of my favorites. But it's hard to pick. There's something I really like about every of them. Like there's always something that I can attach to.
Yeah, that's fair. And since he was just talking about favorite episodes, do you by any chance have any favorite moments from the finished series, or were there like any cool moments that happened during the show's production, or anything like that?
Yeah, let me think. I mean, one thing that was kind of fun was in Los Angeles, there's a area that people call like the Piñata District, where you can like go and get piñatas and get them custom made. And so they had a piñata made of Clarence. Some people from the crew they brought the actual designs, and so that was pretty cool. So yeah, that was a fun moment.
With just a bunch of drawings inside instead of candy.
No, I think it still had candy, but I mean they brought the turnaround, the design, which is kind of like in animation what they use for character designs. Like they'll show the character from the side and the front and the back. I'm sure you've seen a version of that.
I've seen a lot of those.
Yeah, so basically they use that as like a sort of rough schematic for the piñata. So that was cool.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was such a fun production for me, and you know, everyone had a really fun time, and you know, we would play video games together after work sometimes on the floor and all kinds of stuff. So
cool.
Yeah, I definitely look back on that time as like a really special time in my career and my life for sure.
So Cartoon Network Studios was a little bit like how Pixar would make it a really fun environment to work in, huh?
Yeah, I think in animation in general, the culture is pretty casual. Like, I remember when I first interviewed for Clarence, this is pretty funny. Like, I flew out because I was living in Chicago at the time, and I wore like a suit, like a full suit, like really dressed up. And everyone there wears like very casual, like t-shirt and shorts or like this. And so like, I definitely stood out. And like, I remember people at the time who I ended up working with thinking that was pretty funny that I would be so formal in that environment. But I just didn't know, you know, I was so new to it. But yeah, it's pretty casual for the most part. I mean, people take the work seriously, but there's definitely like a fun, laid back kind of atmosphere. It's
cool.
Really creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were there any scenes or parts of the show that weren't in the final episodes, like stuff that didn't get past the censors or the CEOs?
Like deleted scenes or something?
Definitely. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like any deleted scenes or anything like that?
Yeah, there were. There was one, I think it was the end of Clarence's Millions. There was this joke where it was Chad trying to spend the Clarence dollars at a store and then getting arrested. And then like, you know, we don't want to see Chad get arrested. It's like, that's too intense. It's too, you know. I think because they sort of saw him as like maybe a role model character, they were like, that's too, like, it seems like he's trying to scam them. And we thought the joke was that he accidentally used it, like he thought he could really use the money, you know. But they didn't. Yeah, so that's how we thought of it, but they didn't like that, so that got cut. There's this sequence where he's like, it got animated. I think it's online somewhere, but it's Clarence peeing in the toilet. Like, you know, it's just on his face, but he kind of like raises up his hands and then like puts them down quickly, you know, and sort of implied that he's like starting to lose aim. And so they were really mad because they told us to cut that animatic, and somehow it got through to Korea to get animated, and they're like, you're wasting our money. We already told you we don't want to make this scene.
I
didn't appreciate that.
I saw that on the
yeah, you might have seen it online on like the Tumblr.
Yeah, it was on
Tumblr maybe.
It was on Tumblr.
Yeah, there was one joke in Jeff's new toy that I thought was so stupid and funny, and like, I don't know why it got cut, but it was like, Sumo said something like, all right, where's my coffee, or something like that, and then it was a hard cut to a coffee mug, and on the mug it was like a picture of Garfield thinking with a thought bubble, like a version of Garfield, legally distinct, that says, all right, where's my coffee, like just like the line he just said. And it was so silly, and like, I guess for some reason at that point they were really concerned about kids drinking caffeine on the show, like coffee and soda. And so
kids are already excitable enough.
Yeah, I think there were just different mandates throughout the years where it was like, oh, we have like an anti-bullying thing, so like this season we're really careful about how we portray bullying, or like, you know, this year, and then the censors and the standards would change where like, you know, I remember at one point they had a whole like healthy snacks, healthy eating thing, and so they're like, can they eat, you know, vegetables instead of chips and things like that. So you'll see it change throughout the series depending on what the kind of mandate was. But yeah, there's probably a lot of stuff that didn't make it, or they got cut, or, you know, maybe there's one episode, it's called Straight Illin'. It's where Clarence eats all those eggs and gets sick.
Yeah. we definitely talked about that on the show already.
Yeah, so there's one kind of, they call it like a gross up painting of his face when he's really sick. It's sort of, they do it in SpongeBob and Ren and Stimpy a lot.
Yeah,
kind of realistic things. So that was a lot of back and forth with Cartoon Network about, you know, first they didn't want us to show it, and then it was like had to be toned down. I think at one point he had all this stuff oozing, and they like made us get rid of it and change the colors and stuff. And then it was about like how much time it could appear on screen, like how many seconds. So it got trimmed down, so it's like really quick, like bong, and then that's
wow.
So we had to kind of haggle. Oh, the fart cactus episode, that was a lot too. Where
Freedom Cactus,
basically it was like a thing where they didn't want parents to come by their TV and the kids watching this thing and they're just fart, and they said, okay, turn it off. Which is not what we ever wanted to be with Clarence. The fart cactus episode, we had to change the name. We wanted to call it fart cactus, and they said no. So I thought it would be funny to call it Freedom Cactus. I don't know. It was sort of a reference to when George W. Bush was having people call French fries freedom fries. We thought that was funny. It's like a very silly, like dumb way to censor something, so we called it Freedom Cactus. And then, we literally had a meeting with our executive at the time. It was me and Stephen Neary and her, and we would just have the storyboard up and a notepad, and we would haggle about, like, you know, can we have a fart sound effect here? How many times can we have a character say the word fart? How many times do we have to change it to some other, like, poot or toot or something, you know?
Wow.
You know, can it just be a fart sound if we don't have them say it, things like that. So it was a lot of back and forth, like getting it to a point where they found like, okay, it's not excessive, you know? So that was a funny one, especially because the episode itself is sort of about censorship. So it was funny to go through that process. Yeah. So those off the top of my head, I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff that got cut that I just can't think of right now, but.
Wow. So, that's pretty, something, but, I'm gonna try to make this question a bit as short as possible, but,
no worries.
But, as we know, because of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger in August of 2022, they started to get rid of all these shows for absolutely no reason. And then in December, of 2022, they removed Clarence, but we think it was more so of an accident because a couple weeks later they re-added it to the platform. And then in May of 2023, when it was about to become the new Max, they deliberately removed it. So a couple questions I have about that is, how did you react whenever you found out that Clarence, and Vic and Val, if you want to put that in there, how did you react when both of those shows got removed? And by any chance, do we have any possibility of those shows coming back to Max in the future, or will people have to find somewhere else to stream them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was just about as, like, confused and upset as anyone else. Like, I think at that point I had been watching my friends and colleagues who also had projects taken down off of Max, sort of one by one, different Cartoon Network shows would get taken off. Yeah. So I was surprised it lasted as long as it did. And so when it finally got taken off the first time, I was like, okay, well, here we go. I could see it coming. I was disappointed, but at least I saw it coming. But then when they put it back on, I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I just felt confused. Like, I guess it was an accident or someone to change their mind. And then when they took it off again, you know, it was disappointing because Max was the only streaming platform where you could watch the whole series. So it is on Hulu in the United States, but it's only like up until Karate Mom, which is like, I want to say like 80% of the show or something like that.
Yeah,
like still 20 some odd, 24, 25 episodes, something like that are left off.
Yeah.
And before that happened, I was actually trying to talk to somebody at Max to get, we made all these shorts, these mini-sodes that they released on YouTube. But some of them are a little hard to find, and those were made with the full production budget and the full crew on the show. So, like, they're on par with the quality of the show itself, you know. And so I was trying to even get those onto Max, but yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what the chances of it streaming somewhere else are. I know, like, a couple things have now popped up on other streamers, and you know, maybe it'll end up on Disney Plus or Netflix or who knows. You can still pay for the entire series as like video on demand.
On digital,
I think on iTunes.
Yeah.
Maybe also Amazon or some other service like that.
Yeah.
Google Play, maybe. So it is available, but it's not like you just pay for the streaming service and then you can watch them all. It's like you have to pay however much it is to buy them. And there are a couple DVD sets, but they're not complete. It's like just 10 random episodes.
The DVD set Warner Home Video release.
Mystery Pinata and Dust Buddies, and I believe both of those are from season 1.
Right, and they're not even full season 1. It's just
they're just like
random episodes.
Yeah, they were just randomly selected.
No special features, really bare bones, So I had a fan make a DVD set and send it to me, which was amazing.
Yeah,
you saw it on your TikTok page, right?
Yeah, that was so cool. I was really impressed by that. I'll keep that forever. But yeah, so I don't really know. It's the short answer, and even the purpose behind it, I don't quite understand. Like, I know sort of like Zaslav, when he took over, that it was like he had this big deficit that he had to make up from the original AT&T merger, I think, or something.
Warner Media.
And so, yeah, something about taking these off, it's like either a tax write-off, and then someone told me it's not actually a tax write-off, it's something else. But anyway, there's some way that they can say, oh, this is a property that would have cost more money than it would make, or I don't know. I don't really know, because I know they did that with the Coyote versus Acme. There was also a Batgirl movie that had the same thing happen to it.
And then
I'm sorry?
And then Scoop Holiday Haunt, that got written off too.
Yeah, so there's a lot, and even I think some Looney Tunes stuff too, right? Like some original movies or something. Was that right, or am I mistaken?
Yeah.
There's a lot that got taken down, and I know a lot of people are upset about it. The reason I mentioned those two features is because I think those are probably a little more well known than some of the shows, just because people outside of animation are paying attention to those because they're also live action.
We're actually trying to celebrate everything that Cartoon Network has done, and also basically celebrate animation altogether.
Yeah.
And speaking of celebrate, since it is Clarence's 10th birthday, what do you plan on doing to celebrate the anniversary? Are you going to do like special videos or something?
I don't know. I don't have any official plans. It would be nice to do something. I only have I don't have the best setup for this, but I thought it would be fun to do some kind of watch along commentary type thing, like a stream, a live stream, maybe Twitch or TikTok or I don't know what, but I don't really know how to do that. I know a few people that are more into that might be able to help me, but also I don't know legally how much we can show without getting a copyright strike.
I hear you.
Especially if it's not an official Cartoon Network thing. Maybe I can reach out to them and see if they'll let me do it somehow. Maybe that's an idea. I just thought of that. I don't know why I didn't think of that before. But yeah, there's no real plan. I mean, I don't know. It's coming up really soon, right? It would be the 14th.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, I'm not sure, but it would be fun to do a little marathon and talk about episodes that we like or something.
Yeah,
something.
Well, at least Cartoon Network is still airing the show and still putting it out on their website and the app and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah,
at least we still care about them.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, but yeah, like what you mentioned. Yeah, a marathon of this series would have been great, but. They just have a variety.
I feel like if they were going to do that, they probably would have promoted it by now, but I don't know.
But yeah, they're just too busy with their big variety and their Acme Fools and all that stuff right now, so sadly, I don't think that's going to be the case.
Almost 1,000 episodes of Teen Titans Go.
But yeah, I mean, if they at least do some kind of post talking about the anniversary, I'd be fine with that too, but I just want them to at least...
An Instagram post?
Something.
We'll take a post.
Yeah, it would have been something.
That Cartoon Network probably won't get a chance to do.
Yeah,
we'll see. Who knows? Maybe they will.
But yeah, since you mentioned that people can still watch the series via digital HD, and as a matter of fact, I'm watching the series on Hulu on Disney Plus right now because I got
that's a new thing, right? That you can. Technically, you can watch Clarence on a Disney app is strange. Like just thinking about that, like a Cartoon Network show on a Disney app. I think there's also Nickelodeon stuff on there too, right?
Yeah,
but we want to talk about Nickelodeon ever since the whole Dan Schneider quiet on set thing.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of.
It's really sad.
There's a couple of Nick shows on there, yeah. But but in addition to watching the show, is there any other way that the fans can support it? The series still, maybe make some fan art or something.
Sure, if they want to. I mean, I always love seeing fan art. There's so much cool stuff that people just make on their own.
Yeah, there's a whole Clarence Wikia page, and there's a Clarence Discord server I'm in, and someone actually shared all the episodes on a Google Drive folder. And, people on fan art and fan fiction. I think there was actually a drawing that someone did of Clarence hugging Steven Universe.
Oh, yeah.
Both those shows were out around the same year?
Yeah, they were out at the same time, same production time.
But they were like 2 years apart. Steven came in 2013, and then Clarence came in 2014.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe Steven started a little earlier. I'm not. I came on the production in 2013, so that makes sense.
Right.
If Steven was already out.
Okay.
Yeah, we love Steven Universe.
Awesome.
Yeah. And for all of you who have Twitter accounts, renew Steven Universe! Yeah.
Does Rebecca want to do that?
Yeah, we did a whole video about that.
Yeah, she's curious about doing it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and do you have any advice for anyone wanting to enter the animation business, whether it be writing, storyboard art making, or designing characters?
Yeah, especially for me, because I'm curiously trying to work on some of my voice acting, and hopefully I can get into like the voice acting business, maybe for like a trailer or something. So, is there any advice for stuff like that?
Yeah, I guess first I'll start with the first question. I think if you want to get into animation in general, if you're younger and you're in college, I definitely recommend applying to an internship. That's a great way to get your foot in the door at a lot of the major shows. Like most of them will have an internship program, and then you can get real experience. You meet people, you can network. I would also say just practice drawing. Life drawing is probably the best thing you can do if you want to be an animator or a designer or a character designer. Just take a notepad it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Take a sketchbook and go to a cafe and draw people that you see, or whatever. Go to a park and draw what you see. That's just like the very practical kind of muscle building part of it. And then I think any way you can get your foot in the door. A lot of people will start out as like a writer's assistant in the writer's room if they want to become a writer, or a production. It's called a PA, a production assistant. But just look for jobs and try to apply to stuff. And then as far as the voice acting goes, I would say it's not too different than any other type of acting. You just make a reel, which is like a bunch of samples of different types of characters you can do. If you want to go to my website is srothbell.com, and I have a reel right at the top that if you want later, you can listen to that as an example.
Okay.
And there's a lot of other probably way better reels out there too. But that's the first one that came to mind. And there's a couple of websites, I think like voice123.com and things like that. And, people that are looking for voices for their projects will use those as like a search database. So, if you're not in the Screen Actors Guild, you can still do voices for student films and all kinds of other projects that are non-union. And that's a great way to build up a resume and get your start as well.
Yeah, nice. As for the voice acting thing, I'm practicing that for years. I can do really high voices like this, and very low voices like this.
I like that first one. That high voice reminds me of a character. I don't know who, but I like that. But yeah, I would also say, I at least for Clarence, because we did a lot of ad-libbing and improvising in the room, and we did cast records, which means we had a lot of the main cast in the same room at the same time, and so we could improvise together. Something that helped me a lot were those improv classes I mentioned earlier. So if you're a little nervous about maybe thinking on your feet and coming up with like ideas on the fly, that's a great way to practice that and get better at it. And it certainly helped me a lot in the booth for Clarence, I would say.
Anyway, before we end the show, and would you actually like to say something in Clarence's voice? Like something for all the fans who are pretty much watching this video?
I'll say, hello everybody, thank you so much for watching me and my friends. We are a little creeped out that you're watching us all the time, but if you're nice, I guess it's okay.
Oh my... That's awesome, that's great.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this special interview with us and the amazingly talented Spencer Rothbell. And if you guys want to find Clarence, he's on Cartoon Network, on the app, he's on digital, DVD, all that sort of thing. And Clarence, would you like to say something to people who want to see more of us?
Oh, be sure and like and subscribe, and don't forget to listen and watch every time a new episode comes out.
You're Clarence.
Oh, that's incredible.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know what to say.
That's all right. Pretty much you're ad-libbing. Anyway, thank you all for joining us for our Clarence fan-niversary, and we'll see you when we make a new video.
Yeah, take care of yourselves, guys. Have a good one.